Welcome back to our channel. Hear me out with D.
And E.
Before we get started today, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share,
Join our community.
please and thank you. Okay, so what are we doing today?
Today we're going to talk about Scott Disick. Just kidding.
Oh.
Just kidding. Episode of the Kardashians. And I am obsessed. So today's episode is episode 1, and it's called Can Everyone Get Their Ish Together?
Except they cursed.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Instead of ish, it's
It's the other one.
yeah. Who is excited? Because I am. There's just so much to talk
Yeah,
about.
very.
Very? All right.
Yeah.
So let's just start off with Scott because that's what we needed in our life. At least that's what I needed. Him heard the fans. He's
Mm.
back with his Scottisms. So in the first, after that weak intro that they had, roller skating, and it was just too
Oh
much.
my God.
Minutes. 5 minutes and 15 seconds of I don't know what I saw. I don't know. Tell me, what did I see?
Hold on, because before we even get into Scott, before we even get into the first episode, it started off with the Queen, Beyonce, Queen
Oh,
Bee, Cuff It. Beyonce got paid, must have got paid a bag, a big one, because that was several minutes
I don't
of
know
her
what.
song, and they decided to do a roller skating video with this song as the background. Let me just say that I was excited immediately once I
I
heard
was not.
Beyonce.
First of all, they're roller skating here, right? And
hmm
I'm thinking of Usher and Chris Brown. I'm not thinking Kardashians. I don't know what that was. It's not very on brand for them, but hey, kudos for trying. And then the Beyonce song. If people know me, they know that I am not a Beyonce fan, but I have to admit, I have to admit, I was doing the Instagram dance, the dee dee dee. That's what I was doing. I'm like, all right, but it was way too long. I thought it was gonna
Okay,
be 2 minutes. It was 5 minutes and change.
disclaimer, Beehive, please don't come for her.
Please, I mean,
Y'all are strong and powerful. Please don't come for her. She's not in her right mind. I think she had a long day at work. Just it's okay. She'll be all right.
I was shocked.
Anywho,
It doesn't even matter. I don't like Beyonce. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. First Amendment. I'm not gonna diss her. I just don't like her. I liked her in Destiny's Child. I don't, and up to Lemonade. After that, she lost me.
okay, well, this episode's not about Beyonce. So let me just say I love that part. And yeah, let's get into Scott.
All right, so after that whole whatever that was, Scott came around and he was astonished that there weren't any doorbells at Chloe's house. So he goes and says, there's no doorbells anymore. I still have a doorknob. Does that mean that I'm poor?
Scott, we're all poor apparently.
I just loved and missed him so much. I
Yeah,
mean, this is what we needed. And
yeah,
he cracks jokes on in the first, 10 minutes or so, but
he
I was
did.
happy to see him. So we're gonna talk about kind of like different segments of the first episode. So the first segment was with Scott, Kim, and Chloe.
Chloe.
So they spoke about Kim's breakup with Pete. We're reintroducing Scott into the picture. Um,
hmm
kind of a little snippet of what Kim thinks in regards to will she find, love again and who's gonna love her because of, XYZ circumstances and Chloe's surrogacy process. So do you have any thoughts?
Whew, this first part. I mean, I do have to say that, I mean, you told me before the episode I would love it, and I absolutely loved it. I was very excited. And yes, of course, seeing Scott, I was like, oh, finally. Hilarious, immediately hilarious. And, I think Scott's relationship with Chloe has always kind of weirded me out a little bit. Just because
Yeah.
they're a little friendly. But hey, to each their own, right? And the whole thing is we missed Scott and he's now back. So I'm excited for that. I did like I felt bad for Kim, because as much as people try to bring her down and try to basically pigeonhole her into this like box. Kim is still a real person, just like everyone else has feelings and sentiments and insecurities. And of course, now that she's a single mother of four and in her 40s, as she mentioned, and then has a certain baggage of the name Kanye, yeah, I get that she would feel like, well, who's gonna want me, And the thing is, I thought that was a very, very real, like, moment to share. I'm sure the media is going to scrutinize it to hell, but like, I thought that was very interesting that she like just dove right in because as we discussed in our previous video, make sure to check it out. We were talking about the evolution of the Kardashians and how in this past, 2 seasons, the iteration of, this new show, that a lot of the fan complaints were that they weren't being real. They weren't talking too much about what was really going on in their lives and so I appreciated them really diving into that. She also touched on the fact that Pete went through a lot. He struggled, in the relationship because of the constant barrage from Kanye. And on top of that, like, I didn't realize she mentioned that they'd been together for 9 months. That's nearly a year. And I feel like that's a pretty good length of time to be with someone and to feel, that sadness and heartbreak. It makes sense that, she would feel like a heartbreak and, some sadness about the end of that relationship. But I do think, she'll find someone. She did also mention that even though she's single, she's not ready to mingle. So yeah, I did like, them having those conversations. And then Chloe's, conversation about her surrogacy, that was pretty sad, I think. And women that have gone through this, I'm sure could relate and understand that it's not so easy for some, people. And she touched on that because of the fact that it's been a process. Her baby's what, like 9 months now, 10 months now, which we did find out the name. And what is the name?
We'll touch on it in segment two.
Oh, no problem. But yeah, so I did enjoy, that interaction of them three because I think that their interactions have always been kind of funny. They've always been kind of lighthearted, so there was a touch of comedy obviously coming from Scott, but still also a lot of realness. And so I appreciated that. It combined two of the things that the fans were complaining about a lack of Scott in the past and a lack of realness. So they
Yeah,
brought
I
that
think
back.
this first segment was very real. I mean, having babies and, Kim talking
Hmm.
about her experiences and Chloe being open and honest, which, I figure, I don't have kids, disclaimer. I would think surrogacy is a difficult thing,
Yeah.
It's just like so much stigma around it. There's, it's just a different
Yeah.
process,
Hmm.
So she mentioned that it was very transactional, and I can see that
Yes.
very businessy, taking it away, taking the baby away and
Hmm.
trying to bond with the baby. So I can, I hope that social media doesn't think that Chloe doesn't love her kids or something. I think it's going to be an adjustment,
Yeah,
She has to grow to love the baby in a different kind of way. And I think Kim just expressing, her thoughts and feelings was kind of real and relatable. I think in the
definitely.
previous episode that we had, we were talking about just as we mentioned in our previous episode, um, or I was discussing, that we all have these midlife, quarter life crisis, and then,
Yeah.
we think about all these things. Are we successful enough? Are
Hmm.
are we making our children happy? Are we being the best brother, sister, mother, father, etc., executive? And, I think him just touching on even, future relationships and how she feels, I think it's very relatable. I think at some point in time, we think along these lines. Maybe not necessarily that we have 4 kids and we're over 40 and we have all this drums, which I'm gonna
Draw.
always use the word, this drama. But it's relatable in her reality, but I
Yes.
think it's also relatable to me in a sense. So
Hmm.
I appreciated that.
Yeah, I did too. I enjoyed that.
All right. So second segment was Chris and Kim, and they were
Mm.
talking about the Dolce and Gabbana collection, where Dolce and Gabbana asked him to be the creative director for their Milan show. And this is all, I guess, in the time frame where Courtney's getting married and killing Courtney's vibe. Courtney is also using Dolce and Gabbana for their gowns and they're hosting it and things like that. And Kim is talking about wanting to be single for real, for real.
Um, well, I think the main thing that stuck out to me was the fact that Kim was being cognizant of how Courtney would feel, like right away. She didn't think she should do it just so soon after the wedding. She wanted to wait at least a year after, and it was Chris, their mother, who encouraged her.
She was
No, go
looking
ahead
at
and do it
the
now.
business opportunity of
She
it.
was. And
Yes.
and we know Mama J. Chris comes first sometimes. So
Mm.
she, encouraged Kim to do it now. She said, well, hey, it'll still be at least 6 months after the wedding. Kim corrected her. No, it'll be 4. And, you could tell that for Kim, she, wanted to kind of like take this whole thing into consideration of how it could affect Courtney. But she also, because she has some of Chris in her, thought about, well, this is a good business opportunity, and she did not want to pass up on it. And as we know, she did not. And that kind of, you know, was interesting. Kind of like the beginning of it, because a lot of the promos leading up to this season were discussing that rift, that beef that happened, and with Courtney just accusing Kim immediately of just basically stealing her wedding vibes.
I I don't know. I just think that that's such an amazing opportunity. I mean, I guess this is
Yeah.
Eldris E on the business side. You can be a creative director for a major fashion,
Yes.
empire. Like that is
Mhm.
so amazing, and the collection was amazing.
Right.
Um, you know, I don't really understand why Courtney would be so upset. Like why? Because she's
No.
claiming Dolce and Gabbana now. Prior to this, I never saw her wear Dolce and Gabbana.
No.
Prior to
Um,
this, I don't even know what her fashion style is. Her fashion style right now
no.
is Trav, whatever he is,
Yeah,
rocker.
that's true. That's very true.
So
So, I mean, I did kind of feel like it was odd that Dolce& and Gabbana was involved with Courtney's wedding, honestly. I didn't see the correlation connection. I figured maybe it's because of the relationship with Chris, because I know that Chris has, had some sort of a relationship with them, friendship or something like that. So I just kind of thought maybe it was, oh, because of her. It did not make sense to me. Like, oh, yeah, this is a Courtney thing. No. And then one of the things Chris pointed out to Kim when Kim was discussing all of this is that they've never, Dolce& and Gabbana has never done this before. They have never had a collab before, and they had immediately, like literally, Kim said right after the wedding, contacted her, wanting to do several things with her, and I don't know. I think that, like, obviously, we're going to see throughout the season how this all plays out, but I think that, like, there's a time and a place for things, and yes, maybe more time should have gone by, but at the same time, it's like we talked about in the last video, they're a business. This is what they do, you know, for Courtney to not look at it in that sense, to kind of immediately go on the defensive, I thought was, weird.
And some of these opportunities, whether it's Dolce and Gabbana or whatever we have going on, there's sometimes once in a lifetime opportunities.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
imagine if Kim would have said no, they would have been like, I never want to work with her again. And we
Right.
know that Kim is trying to build that, you know, avant-garde
Yeah.
put into the fashion industry in like
Hmm.
a more couture kind of way, in a more luxury fashion kind of way.
Yes.
So I think Courtney, as her sister, knowing that, I would think she should have been a little more understanding. It wasn't immediately after the wedding. It wasn't before to outshine.
Hmm.
It
Yes.
wasn't from the promos we saw. It wasn't even like tapping into the same kind of vibe, like clothing vibe.
No.
So I
Yeah.
don't understand, I guess, the issue
It's
overall.
weird. It was weird. And just to kind of make like a little comparison, like for, obviously we're new to this whole thing, vlogging and all that. So people obviously don't know our backgrounds, but you and I travel a lot. We love to travel. And I've never once like been upset when you've wanted to do solo travel. I've supported and encouraged. I haven't thought like, oh, but you're stealing our bestie vibe with the travel, like I think that would be ridiculous of me because there's enough room in this world. Clearly, there's tons of countries, to visit, to like do these things and to kind of like I feel her bogarting Dolce is just weird. And another thing I'd like to point out, Kim was wearing a lot of Balenciaga in this episode.
She
I don't
was.
know if she was like
Oh,
in that scene with Chris, she was wearing a Balenciaga top. And then there was another scene later on, I think, where she had on something else that was Balenciaga. So I don't know if
in
this
the
was.
intro, she was wearing the shoes, the
Yes. Yeah. So I
yeah.
don't know if this was like prior to that whole drama. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But what stuck out to me is like, well, of course Dolce wants to do something with her. She had a whole thing going on with Balenciaga, a year before. So this is clearly something that Kim, the lane she's kind of going into. So she did this with another fashion house where she was kind of like really heavily involved with them and like they were styling her and she was constantly wearing their stuff. She was their like, person, their model for a campaign and everything. Like they did a whole campaign around Kim. I understand why Dolce would want to do something with her. So Courtney, again, not understanding that. Just, I don't know. It just seems far-fetched to me.
I'm
And
just wondering if Courtney is upset with Kylie, because Kylie was advertising Dolce and Gabbana sunglasses wear. Like,
oh, okay. I forgot about that.
look at her Instagram, she was. So I'm
Huh,
like, was she mad at her for that too?
right. It's just one of those things. Like it doesn't make sense to me, to kind of like, I don't know, to nothing belongs to anybody. In this family, the Card Jenners, nothing really belongs to anybody. Like they all.
Oh, you can't see that. But that is
Oh, okay, yeah, I see the logo.
the logo bag. So she's advertising a bag. I saw her advertising sunglasses, and I think something else. So is she mad that,
Yeah. That doesn't, it just, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. And maybe, throughout the season, we're gonna learn where a lot of this is coming from. I don't remember exactly if she mentioned it on this episode or if it was something that they used in like this season of the Kardashians. There was a clip where she says, Kim has always been very competitive with me. I outgrew that,
oh, in
but
this
she
episode.
hasn't. Oh, okay. So it was this episode. Okay, okay. But yeah, I mean, that was just okay. I don't understand it.
And then as far as Kim wanting to be single for real,
I mean, so we know that Kim has admittedly, and publicly stated that she's the type of person that falls in love very easily. She falls deeply. And
Those
Chris
are the
accused
people
her.
J-Lo.
Yeah, they are friends. Um, Chris accused her, which I like wrote down immediately. Chris accused her of being, one of those people that can't be alone. And yeah, maybe there's some truth to that. And she denied it right away. I don't know. I can see it.
That would be interesting to see. Just spending some alone time with yourself. You have a lot of time
Hmm.
to reflect on
Yeah,
things that you really want, or the direction you want to go in, or what you're
right.
looking for in your next partner. So and she has a lot going on, so
A
this time
lot.
could also be spent with extra business ventures. I guess that's her being busy, but
Yeah.
more time with the kids. She expressed that she would like to lead a private life, but I don't think so. She loves this. This is her vibe.
It is.
Yeah.
She loves the drums.
She loves the drums.
The drums.
They all love the drums, and I love it too.
Of course.
All right, segment three, Kendall and Kylie driving stick. That was a
I wrote
disappointment.
I wrote one note.
I
My
wrote,
note was why.
and they took up so much time in the middle. I
So much.
I
I
was like,
was
it's
like,
not that serious.
wait, what like is it they just wanted to make sure they were featured on this episode? Like it was weird. I mean, okay, sure, they were talking about like, oh, this is sister bonding, blah 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 blah, but
It didn't need to be like 10 minutes long.
it really
Or
didn't.
it just needed a little more excitement, like her crashing into something, or
Oh
not
God.
not a big crash, just a little ding.
Oh, a fender bender, a little tap, love
Yeah,
tap.
a little over the sidewalk or something to keep it spicy.
Oh,
Uh,
geez.
the beginning was a little funny. She's like, I don't have three legs. I'm like, Kylie could be funny sometimes,
She
but
can, yeah. But
this took
I
too
thought that
long.
it was odd though that like it was a whole, 10, 15 minutes of them doing this versus, I don't know, Kylie talking about Travis, Kylie talking about her kid, new one, not Stormy, but the new baby Air, or Kendall talking about her breakup. I don't know if she'd already broken up with Devin Booker at that time, but, instead, they were the only two who didn't talk about any sort of drums in that whole little like scene. It was just more about like whatever that was. Whatever that was.
Sisters reconnecting.
But hey, I did learn one thing. I don't care to drive, shift,
Oh,
stick, whatever, in any sense of the word. No, thank you. I'm good. No.
all I kept thinking was, don't they have drivers, like chauffeurs? Like, why would I bother with this? I don't know.
I
Rich
mean,
people problems. I don't understand it. I'm not gonna give myself a hard time.
yeah, yeah, that's true. You're right. You're right.
And they're so-called billionaires, millionaires,
That
cotillion.
yes, they are.
Nobody got time.
They really are.
All right, segment four. It was Kendall's 818 party gathering. I don't know, extravaganza, whatever she had going on. And Chloe's melanoma subject came about, and the baby's name.
Okay. So I'll tell you right now, I didn't pay attention to the 818 event. Um, I'm sorry, guys. I was serving myself dinner during that portion. Because I'm
Not
multitasking.
clutch and the gas and the brake portion.
You no, because during that portion I was working. I was like, let me work on my computer for a little bit. That's what I was doing. And then I went to grab a plate of food during her event because why? It why? Now the Chloe melanoma thing, oh, that's scary. I mean,
I'm just wondering why Chris brought it up here, just random.
now you know, Chris.
Yeah, but they couldn't they do this at home? Like it has to be during this event. Maybe I just don't understand how rich people work, but this is weird.
The drums.
The
The
drums.
drums. I, you know, James Corden was at the event,
He was
and
hilarious. I was
I couldn't,
invested in his little portion.
I wasn't sure what he was saying or doing. I was like still grabbing a plate of food. I just knew that I
He
heard his voice.
told me, what's your daughter's name? And she said true. And then, she had mentioned that she had another baby. And he's like, oh, what's the name? False? You know,
I
typical.
didn't hear that part. Oh God.
So he was just basically like kind of cracking jokes.
Uh-huh.
Um, I kind of liked it, to be honest. I don't know. Kendall's just awkward. She needs to be, how she was
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
promo to be introduced?
yeah.
They just needed to cut her out. And the only reason Courtney was the third
What?
one was, so the order was, Kim, she shines.
Of
Then
course.
then Kylie, Courtney, Chloe. There's too many K's here. Chloe,
Chris?
and Chris.
Okay.
So, and I think that Courtney was placed number three just because she's beefing with Kim. Because she should have been 4 or 5 with Kendall and they should have been out. Actually,
Oh,
Chris needed to move up. Because I think Chris is amazing. She is like the life of the party. She's the momager. She probably got more money than all of them.
oh yeah.
And she lives her
Probably.
best life. Like, Courtney, I mean, I guess it sounds like I hate Courtney. Maybe I do. I don't know. But Kendall is
She does
boring.
not.
Huh?
We don't hate people. She does not
Oh,
hate her.
I dislike her at the moment. But and Kendall is boring. But maybe with Bad
Yeah.
Bunny, she's gonna spice it up later, or maybe season 4 or 5, whatever, if she decides to talk about it.
He better not come on that show. He better
I
not.
think he is.
Oh my
I
God.
can
I
see
hope
it.
not.
But Chloe's melanoma.
Yeah, okay. Um, so man, yeah, like I said, that sounds scary. Anything, possibly cancer is just terrifying. So we obviously know because she put out a statement a few months ago about this whole situation. And they briefly touched on it at this event again, public event. I don't know why they talked about that, but um and I think that she mentioned that they were going to have to like cut into her cheek to see like the depth of it, and I mean, yeah, that all just sounds scary. And these women, they're beautiful, whatever you want to say, plastic surgery, filters, photoshops, whatever. They're still beautiful. And I can imagine that it's not only that scary that you have to deal with melanoma, but also that you're gonna have to, or someone's gonna have to cut into your face. Like, I don't know, that's definitely that's scary. She didn't mention that. She doesn't want a giant scar on her cheek. I mean, who would?
And this is her third stint with something like this. I think I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either because she did mention that, she's constantly being told, oh, well, it's rare for someone your age, or it's rare that you have, and that's interesting, that she's kind of gone through a lot of these odd situations. I don't
Hmm.
know. It was pretty sad.
Well, she seems okay now, so we just
Yeah,
hope for a speedy recovery for her, and hopefully
yeah,
this
for
doesn't
sure.
continue to happen.
Yeah.
And what else? Oh,
The
the
baby
baby.
name. Tatum.
How
With
do
the
we love
T.
it?
I don't love it.
What? I don't get
No.
it sometimes.
Okay, listen, a part of me did want him to be named Robert. I get that she wanted to do the tease, but I did want him to be named Robert for her daddy. Huh?
After her dad or her
After
brother?
her dad, yeah. And her brother. She has a super close relationship with Rob, her brother. But I think, mostly for her father. So either way, I don't hate Tatum, right? Like I don't hate the name. I just don't love it. It's just I don't know. It's one of those names that like I don't know, just seems odd. But not in like a stormy air kind of odd. Just a whole nother thing.
That is probably, besides Courtney's kids, this is probably one of the more normal names. Is that why you don't like it? Because it's normal? Normal?
Dang. I mean, that would literally be contrary to everything I just said, but you could be onto something, you know?
No, just
Maybe.
we
So I
have
take
North
it you love
Texas,
it.
Chicago. We have directions. We have
Earth,
biblical.
wind, and fire.
We have the elements,
The elements.
Captain Planet. What
Uh-huh.
else? We have Dream, and
Oh, I
the
love her.
ethereal things. We have true, false. Negating kind
Don't
of thing.
go with
I
false.
know, true's cute. I really do like her.
So you love Tatum then?
I kind of like it.
It'll grow on me, you know. All the names did. It'll grow.
Does he have a middle name?
I don't think she mentioned a middle name, just Tatum. I don't even think she said Thompson.
Hmm.
No, I
What
just
I
heard you.
don't appreciate is them making me wait for a whole year for a name. Both Kylie and Chloe. Say what?
Yeah. You
Like,
know, to be honest with you, I kind of constantly forgot she had a baby.
I can't
And
lie. Me too.
yeah. And sometimes I still forget that Kylie has one. All I know is, Stormy and True. I don't know. Maybe because they're just still like babies, they're still little, plus they don't really post them and everything. But yeah, I definitely kept forgetting.
I keep forgetting Chloe, and I think that probably it reflects like what she's feeling. Like she doesn't feel that
Yeah.
connection. During that whole time, she was dealing with drums with Triple
Oh
T.
yeah. With
So
that
it's
guy.
not like at least she didn't do a lot of surrogacy like things with the carrier or whatever,
Yeah.
or spoke about it a lot. I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was out of sight, out of mind for her and for us.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
true.
why I always
Yeah.
forget. And then what's his name? Air.
Air.
I I think about him more because he's so cute, but Kylie was also pregnant and we saw her, so I think it's like more, on my
It's
mind.
a little more. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. It was just, I realized it like a few days ago that I really do forget that she had, another baby. But I mean, I'm sure that like things are a lot better now, and she's probably gotten over that by now, I would think, after all this time and everything. So, hopefully she has.
All right. Segment 5. There's only 6 guys. Okay, bear with us. So segment 5 is Courtney's IVF journey. Um, and then Courtney also mentions that she believes her family is there for each other in a superficial way, which is kind of
Woo.
crazy.
Yeah.
And she also talks a little bit about the Kim versus Courtney rivalry and the dynamic change with Chloe and things like that.
Yeah. Well, the IVF journey, I believe they're done with that. No, I think, yeah, she discussed how difficult it was and just that they weren't, able to get the results that they wanted. And, fertility journeys are very difficult to go through, and the toll on a woman's body, the mental like toll as well. It's a lot. And I can't imagine being in the public eye the way Courtney is and having to be scrutinized all the time because you would see whatever picture she'd post, all the comments, oh, she's pregnant, oh, she's pregnant, just because maybe she put on some weight. And again, that was all part of the IVF thing. Your hormones are all over the place. There's so much going on, things that you can't control, but you still have to be out there, right? Because you're promoting this, you're promoting that. You have to have a social media presence because that's what, happens with your family. That's what you guys do. So I felt I felt bad for her, in that moment. And it kind of made me think that a part of what she may be feeling, during that period with Kim and with her family and everything probably stems from that. Maybe her family wasn't as invested in her IVF journey, or maybe they weren't as supportive in it Because sometimes, like, people don't think to check in when it comes to certain things. If it's not something you're seeing, if it's not something that like is catastrophic, most people don't really pay too much attention to it. And I know that like they looked at Courtney because Chloe even mentioned it as she was in this love bubble. And that's like, oh, she's fine, right? Because she's in this love bubble, so she's okay. There's no problem. But that doesn't take away from everything that she was going through. So, it could be possible that maybe she didn't feel like they really were there for her. Maybe that's why she made the comment about how families there for each other superficially. You know, I think there's a lot more that maybe she's not saying, and that's understandable. This infertility journey is a very private one. So, of course, she may not want to like really disclose everything, and considering that maybe she hasn't disclosed everything to her family either, maybe that's also part of, what's been kind of hurting her, and in a way, I mean, she's kind of doing it to herself. You can't, necessarily expect that people are going to be able to like read your mind, and unless you're letting them know what's going on. But yeah, so she did, talk about that. I think they're pretty much done with it. And I mean, it to me really did feel like that's part of what the issues have been lately. And again, that whole quote about, family being for each other on a superficial level, what Chloe said, I thought was also very telling, and how, she wasn't there for her and her baby and the situation that she went through. And I think it's clear that there are some resentments that they may all have that they're not discussing, at least not with one another. It sucked.
I think the resentment is really Courtney and the way she's evolved. I think she's had a problem since probably Kim had kids with, in the same age range with Kylie, with Chloe, and like that dynamic changed. But also when
Yeah.
she turned 40, we saw that she was having, this crisis and this apprehension and stress about turning 40. I feel like,
Hmm.
from then, or actually even in those episodes of Keeping Up, they had a big fight about wardrobe, and
Yeah.
Courtney's the vibes of Kim and her relationships with all these fashion people, and Courtney's just coming in trying to take clothes and things like that. So I
Hmm.
think the issue has been going on for a while. I
Yeah.
don't say that it's Kim's fault. It's not Kim's fault all the way, but I think, as we were talking in the last episode, I think Courtney has evolved or devolved
Mhm.
in some
Yeah.
kind of way. She's more,
Right.
I want to say, self-centered, and it could be in a
Hmm.
good way and a bad way. She's looking out
Yeah.
for what makes her happy. She doesn't want to be dealing with with the bad vibes and the
Yeah.
drums and things like that. Um, but then it could also be good because that's probably what she needs, for her
Yeah.
sanity. But I think that whatever it is, it's affected her relationships with Courtney, I mean, with Kim and Chloe and probably the rest of
Yeah.
her sisters.
And they did touch on the fact also that there's been a shift in how she had such a close-knit relationship with Chloe, and then it became, Chloe and Kim who had such a close relationship. And that Courtney enjoyed the whole like her and Chloe sort of ganging up on Kim, making fun of Kim, and then the tables turned and it was Chloe and Kim doing that for her. And I think what you said is very much on point. The fact that Kim had kids in close age with Chloe, with Kylie, definitely changed the dynamics and made things a little bit more different for them, because Courtney had already had, her three kids by the time, that Kim got pregnant. And like there was just a difference, right? And so one thing that I noticed is that even though they touched on the issue, they came to a solution by trying to have like a day where they would go and like be who they used to be and all that. If that's going to happen, who knows? But, at least they're acknowledging, something that for a while fans have been saying.
I think with regards to now Kim and Chloe being so tight, it seems to me that Courtney can dish it, but she can't take it.
Yeah, yeah,
They,
for sure. I
they
definitely agree.
him and all, the way she cries and pranking her or
Yeah.
whatever. But now that, you know, Kim and there's too many K's here, that Kim and Chloe have formed the stronger bond,
Hmm.
she can't deal with it. And it's not, I don't think they're necessarily ganging up on her, at least to me. Like, I just think that
Yeah,
there's just so many difference of opinions. It's not like
right,
childish things that Courtney and Chloe would do to Kim, you
right.
know? I think
Yeah.
these are like bigger problems because they're older, they got all these things going on.
Hmm.
So I don't know. But ultimately, she can dish it and she can't take it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think she's trying
I
to
agree.
ostracize herself, honestly.
I agree. I do because, aside from the whole motherhood aspect of everything, another connection that Kim and Chloe have is their work ethic. Because I think that when Courtney and Chloe were so tight knit and making fun of Kim, they were still all coming up, right? They weren't at the levels that they're in now. And for the past several years, Kim and Chloe have had, all of these businesses, this like explosion of popularity and businesses and, all these different endeavors that they probably have, that sort of connection now as well. Because who are you going to turn to, for business advice? Courtney or Kim? And that's not to like, like bag on Courtney, but I think there's a reason why it's such a difference now. And I think Courtney is just maybe, not able to kind of accept that either. Um, but nobody's nobody's blameless here, and it's not like it's a terrible thing for things to change. It's not a bad thing, for there to be an evolution of the way that people are and their relationships with respect to one another.
I just think probably there were things going on and she was in her bubble, and
Yeah.
that made Kim and Chloe form their bond in
Mhm.
addition to them having kids and, you know, whatever other thing they had going on. Maybe they cleared up some misunderstandings. I feel like they're probably even closer than Chloe and Courtney ever were. They just
Yeah.
have a different dynamic, and, it's just more genuine to me.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. I think it's something that the fans have noticed as well, for sure.
All right. Lastly, last but not least, it's Kim talking about Kanye and the rumors that he set forth, and just the Kanye's circle
Drums?
drums, the Kanye drums.
Oh man, listen, I think that everybody has been made aware of the messiness that was their divorce. I mean, it's sad, right? Like we touched on that in our previous episode that like this is not the life Kim wanted, obviously. She wanted to be with this person for the rest of her life. She has 4 kids with him. And as she said in this episode, this is forever. He's in her life forever. And it's unfortunate that, she's got to keep dealing with this, that she's got to keep like having to take in all of this negativity, toxicity from her ex-partner simply because I don't know, he's got like his own issues and everything. And she, told Chris about how it was Kanye who started the rumor that she had cheated with Drake. Like it had never happened. But here he is accusing her of doing something that he publicly admitted to doing himself. Like he cheated on her and she stuck by him. I read some comments the other day. Yeah,
With
he
who?
admitted to that last year. He didn't say with who, but he did some sort of an interview where he said, he was unfaithful to his wife and everything, and she stuck around. And so, I mean, obviously that wasn't made as public during the time it was happening, but like when he said it, again, it's not like people commended her for sticking it out or anything. And in the recent comments that I've seen where she stated in this episode that her X-rated tape will never do as much damage as Kanye's antics will to their kids, right? I don't fully agree with that, but to each their own. However, like the fact is that this is all going to like be around forever, and he has constantly not only talked bad about the mother of his kids, but her family, you know, and that's not something that like I would want my father to do, like it would be a problem for me. I can't imagine, when those kids grow up and they start to see these things, read these things because they're out there, you know. So it was frustrating, hearing that. And then in the comments, when that clip aired, it was shared, I think earlier today, how she said about, the video not doing as much damage. The comments were all like, "That's not true," or "No, girl, you couldn't stick by your man when he was at his lowest, when he was sick, and blah blah blah." And it's like she was with him for years. She was with him during all of his issues until the point she couldn't anymore, until the point that she realized that what was best for her, what was best for her kids, is to not be married to him anymore. So, going back to just like the fact that people just want to continue to find like issues, which is something we talked about during the last episode. There's always something that people want to judge and criticize about her. It's crazy to me that this woman did what she could, tried everything she could to stay with this man despite the issues, and then you still have people judging you. Like, God, I wouldn't want that life. Like, no.
I mean, I wish just people would, the people are, they, I don't know.
They're the worst.
People drive me crazy because then you're
Yeah.
her or you left them at your lowest. I'm like, y'all leave people at their highest. Like, y'all can't handle some of these things. Some people aren't
Yes.
like this anymore. I'm like,
No.
it's like sometimes
No.
calling the pot, what is it? The calling
The
the
pot calling the kettle black. One of
exact.
those things. Yeah.
Y'all not y'all not true. Y'all should
No.
look at your lives.
Right.
I'm sure, your man did X, Y, and Z. You stuck around multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
People are all up in your drums,
All in the drums.
and you're over here judging, somebody you don't even know. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have time to comment on.
No, no, like, no. Can can you have an opinion? Sure, we can have opinions. Clearly we're here talking about this. But to just like purposely go out of your way to be like vicious, to be mean without even having the smallest bit of just like sympathy for someone, only because of the fact that they have money, that they have, all of this stuff going on. Like, I don't get it. It to me, it's just a whole bunch of hating. That's all it is.
I think some people can argue that Kim knew what she was getting into. You know,
Right.
it can be seen as a stepping stone into the
Right.
fashion world and opening doors for her. He was a megastar and
Right.
he was a reality star, probably, trying to tap into these other avenues. But
Yeah.
at the same time, we also see Kanye devolve
Yeah.
as time goes. And, all the outlandish or rhetoric, all the outlandish things that he says and the
Hmm.
rhetoric and his behavior and mistreating her family. Like, how much can somebody
Yeah.
really take? They've been together for a long time,
Yeah.
That's that's damaging to her mental health, to mine,
Right.
to her stepsister. I'm like,
Stepsister, right.
calm down.
it's hard. And I mean, you never really know what somebody's going through. That's something that I have to remind myself, right? Like, you never know. And I think that when you see online all of these comments, all of the negativity, it's just one of those things where it's like, the shoe was on the other foot. If you were this person out in public like this, like, how would you want to be treated? How would you want, people to view you? And so I think that's one of the things that I took away from this episode is that I'm glad they're back to kind of their roots. But I'm also glad that they are like in a way kind of touching on these things that they weren't touching on before, and that they're in some ways fighting back and defending themselves, because Kim wasn't doing too much of that, online. She said a few things, but obviously keeping the kids in mind, she couldn't say much. And so I'm glad that she was able to, especially episode number 1 of the new season, just bring it all out.
I think social media has emboldened people to be braver
Yeah.
than they actually are.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be like, say it to my face, and they won't. So they feel so brave to say these things and
Yeah.
think, words don't hurt, and
Yeah.
just imagine getting all that hate and all that, everything that they get magnified by millions and millions of people. Like, I think
Mhm.
Kylie has like 380 million followers,
Oh
and
my
Kim has
God.
like 350 or so.
Oh
350
wow.
million people. Can you imagine hearing 350 million? You suck. We saw
Oh
how
my.
it affected Chloe, and she
Yeah.
talks about it. So, you
Yeah.
know, people just need to be a little kinder. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
It and I think it was Drake who called it Twitter fingers. All of these people, all of these people with their Twitter fingers
Mm,
need to chill. Like there there's no point in taking this stuff so seriously. It's not your life, for starters. It's not your life. And, you know, at the end of the day, if you don't care for these people, if you don't like these people, then why are you commenting? Why are you watching them? Like,
mm,
just keep scrolling. That's fine.
just
That
like that.
that's my last 2 cents on that.
I think we covered it all. I can't
Yay!
wait for the next episode. I'm so happy that they went back to the roots,
Yes.
because I totally miss it. I hope I see more of Scott. What is he doing? Who is he dating? I think he's chilled a little bit. I
He
think
has.
Courtney really broke his heart.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so,
I
see
think.
more of the kids, Mason, Penelope. We don't really see
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So, and I want to hear about Astroworld, Kylie Jenner.
I don't know that she's going to mention that. I think after today's episode, I feel like Kylie and Kendall are going to continue to do what they've done for the last several years at towards the end of Keeping Up and these, last 2 seasons of the new show. They're going to continue to just keep things superficial. Yeah,
That's
it sucks.
unfortunate.
Yeah,
I mean, I
it
think
is.
Kylie just cut Kendall then.
Oh God.
I'm just saying.
Anywho, thank you guys for watching, for listening to our craziness. We are excited to do this as much as possible. So, like always, make sure to like, subscribe, share, comment. If you want to tell us we're wrong, it's okay. Tell us we're wrong, but also tell us why. And then let your people know that you're disagreeing with us so they can come and try and maybe disagree with us. It's okay. Just come join us.
I know. Watch the next episode next week, right?
Yeah,
Wednesday,
yeah.
and
Next Thursday.
we'll be talking about every single episode, because we could talk about it for days. This is like censored to like 30, 40 minutes, probably at most an hour.
Ooh,
We can talk about this for 8. If you guys
yeah.
want that, let me know, because I can't. Trust me. Thank you for joining us. This is Hear Me Out with E.
Andy,
Peace.
bye.